All right, welcome to the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tuesday, October 10th meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, so if you are dialing in on a phone, please use *6 to mute and unmute yourself. We're being taped by MCTV. We're going to take things out of order tonight. What's that?
Yeah, I can do. JD's
Oh, roll call. Go ahead, Larry. Sound
Larry Keane here.
Brian Sullivan, present.
Ryan Murphy here.
Heidi Conley here. Jean Lee here.
Grover Hensley here.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to start with 2381, Alexander and Stella Gorodetsky. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing home and construct a new 29-foot by 44-foot, 2.5-story dwelling with a 9-foot by 14-foot elevated deck and a 5-foot wide egress stairs to grade on the property located at 1187 Ferry Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel 115-1-13 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
I'm Dick Rockwood from Rockwood Design. I actually reside at 92 Grandview Ave, Marshfield. So I did the architectural work for the Gordetskys. They had come before the board, and he is a surveyor, had done the survey, had done the conservation hearing and the zoning hearing, but he had been approved. He had asked for and been approved as a 2-story house. Came to me to design the structure because it has to be up on pilings. And then we started talking about a 2.5-story house. So, which is all acceptable, but he had not asked for a 2.5-story. So, thought it would be best to make that clarification. I really hadn't changed. Well, he didn't really have a drawing. He basically referenced the other houses in the neighborhood, and based with that and his footprint, he was approved. So here we are at zoning again. I have not gone outside the footprint. I might have with the stairs. I'd have to look at what the original plan was, but I have stairs that come down on the side of the house with which are egress stairs. I actually think I don't think that's the current site. This thing.
The plan dated January
Oh, I'm sorry.
23.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. So the site plan is the same site plan that he came with. We're just doing the 2-story. I mean, the extra 1/2 story.
And that's the only change?
That's the only change.
Footprint is identical.
There, other than stairs coming
Stairs,
off
yeah.
the side of the house. Coming down. It's the same size house. See those stairs coming off the side?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a function of the elevation.
yes, it is.
Andrew, you have anything to add?
No.
Anything from the board?
I'm good.
Anything from the audience? Seeing as it's a none, I'm gonna move that we close 2381. Alexander and Stella Gorodetsky. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Ryan Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conley, aye. Jean Lee, aye.
Grover Hensley, aye.
I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit subject to the conditions. This project may require compliance with the floodplain bylaw, a building permit, a certified as-built conforming with the requirements of 305-1012, and a certificate of occupancy. The board also finds that of the 10 general conditions associated with the special permit to be fulfilled, based on a finding that the applicant's proposal to raise their home and reconstruct a new 29-foot by 44-foot, 2.5-story dwelling with a 9-foot by 14-foot elevated deck and 5-foot wide egress stairs to grade on the property located at 1187 Ferry Street, as shown on site plan to accompany special permit application dated January 23rd, 2023 by Gorodetsky Engineering, Stephen T. Roy, PLS, and progress set of plans dated 9/1/23 by Rockwood Design, 7 pages, meets the special permit criteria of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye. Jean Lee, aye.
Corbin
Thank
Hensy, aye.
All right, thank you.
So now we have 2383 Town of Marshfield, Department of Public Works. The petitioner is seeking site plan approval in accordance with 305-1202 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to make comprehensive upgrades to the existing Plymouth Avenue pump station, taps, and implement protection for the potential risk of flooding during storm events. Improvements to include mechanical, civil site, structural, architectural, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and process instrumentation and controls work, and will include construction of an 18-foot by 26-foot addition generator room that will be attached to the east side, and a flood barrier wall constructed along the pump station perimeter on the property located at 373 Plymouth Ave, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L09091111, and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
My name is Austin Potts. I work for Environmental Partners, here on behalf of the DPW.
Okay,
So I guess this project is to rehab an existing sewer pump station that services a large portion of the town. It's sized to pump 3 million gallons per day of wastewater to the wastewater treatment plant just down the street. So what we're doing here is just sort of a wholesale renovation, which includes replacement of their existing generator in order to accommodate the new generator. Rather than ripping down the roof, we decided to construct or design for construction a new generator room on the side, which will provide the operators with more space for storage inside the existing
What kind of a
facility.
generator is it? Gas or diesel?
It'll be gas.
Thank you.
So we'll be obviously taking gas off of the existing main on the streets. The generator room will be constructed of CMU block built on cast in place concrete foundation. And as mentioned, we are also retrofitting the building with a flood wall to meet the FFRMS requirements.
Is there any, soundproofing required?
Yeah, so we're providing soundproofing as we are able. So we have an exhaust duct on the, I guess, east side of the addition. The one in the back is the intake. The one on the side, which you can see, yes, that's the one right there. So that'll be damp. It's a dampered louver. The duct going out will also have some insulation in it, and will provide as much sound or mitigation as possible. And it's important to note, obviously, this is an emergency generator.
Yeah.
It will exercise once a week, probably like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. for 30 minutes, and then will only operate for extended periods during an emergency to make sure that this critical facility remains online. I did read some.
Can I chime in about the timing of the generator?
Yes.
Can we put something in the decision of like a strict time where they have to do it, so it doesn't like over time become like a Saturday at 9 a.m.?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can guarantee that we will be programming it during startup to run a single day a week. If the board wants to make a condition that it's during the week between certain hours, that's certainly something that we can do.
Yeah,
Tuesday at 10 a.m. is typical.
During the week, during normal business hours.
Perfect.
Nothing crazy.
Thank you.
That is easy
I
enough.
mean, the main impact of this structure is going to be from noise generated by the generator, and presumably an upgraded generator is going to be more quiet than the existing generator.
Yeah, so we did have a sound study conducted on our proposed generator, what mitigation efforts we were able to include. And based on the modeling that our sound engineer did, it showed that, we estimate that the proposed generator will actually have less sound impacts than the current one, which is from, 1970s vintage. So
Yeah.
Bit of a horse.
That's good. The vast improvement.
Yep.
I did read that. You did send that in, correct?
Yep, that is, yeah, it's included as part of the application here.
Is there gonna be extra lighting out there or anything for this, or?
Nothing out of the ordinary. It would be all sound, or not sound, sorry, motion activated lighting, dark sky compliant, you know, those types of things.
Any questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Name and address for the record.
Linda Melville, 19 Johnson Terrace.
Go ahead.
I live right behind there. So one of the questions was answered regarding the sound. So, because I do hear it. So this building's pretty much, you know, right behind my house. It just showed. I have questions about the wall.
Mhm.
So should I address that now or?
Go ahead. Any questions you have?
Yeah. So I'm just curious about this wall they're doing. So I'm just wondering if it's going to affect my
Can you
property.
point to the plan where you have the question?
Well, I guess everything's happening on the east side with the generator, but I was just concerned about the wall. That's their building.
And what's your,
I want to make sure my yard's not gonna flood more than it does. Cause I've done a lot, you know, to try to prevent that.
Yeah, I can say with almost certainty that it will not affect your yard. All we're doing is we've actually, this wall is going to be attached to the building around the perimeter. And it's just to make sure that this building does not get flooded. We're not adding, you know, any additional flood or reducing flood storage by a significant amount.
Mm-hmm.
That would.
Because it is up already pretty high. I can't even imagine the building getting flooded. No.
Yeah, it's technically, so the finished floor elevation's like 10 feet. The 100-year flood is 9. And so per FEMA, we need to provide flood mitigation up to 3 feet above that 9 foot. So we're providing a 3-foot wall around the perimeter. And again, this is just, it's tight to the building. So we're not doing it around the property line or anything like that.
Okay, it's tight to the building.
Exactly.
That
Yeah,
was
so
one of
you
my
can,
other questions.
it's sort of difficult to see on this plan, but that outermost line around the perimeter of the building on the, or yeah, I guess you can see it here too.
Mhm.
That sort of gray area that the mouse is going over, that's our flood wall. So it's going to be tight to the building. It'll stick out like 12 inches from the existing structure.
And
Okay.
I can comment on that and confirm all of that. I've been working directly with FEMA and the state and the designers and the town engineers on this project very closely. There is going to be one slight change, and the only change there is this little exterior, this little flood wall, how it's away from the building, that's actually going to get pulled in. And so it is, all flood walls are going to be part of the actual structure. So it's just going to be like any other flood-proof structure in town.
now you said you heard the generator.
Oh, I do hear it all the time, yeah.
When does it run?
Um,
Does it cycle weekly?
well, obviously if power goes out, you know, and then, yeah, weekly I hear it, but it's.
You know
I'm-
when?
I've been there 20 years, so I'm pretty used to it. Not exactly sure when. It's loud,
Is it during the day?
yes.
Okay,
Well, also I've heard it at night. But it is during the day, but something consistent on a regular, you know, during the week would be, if they have to do that, like you said, Tuesday at 10 or something like that.
thank you.
I'd like to chime in about the time again. During normal business hours, I think it's too broad, honestly. I mean, everyone in town has a generator these days. Every single day at a different time during the day, I have a generator start around my house. So I feel how what this woman's saying. I think we need to, overall in the town, need to do something more to tighten this up. But in general, let's start with the town building and make a time where it makes sense to have that going. Like normal business hours is 4 p.m. on a Friday. You know, we shouldn't allow that to happen.
Grover, what time would you suggest?
I mean, Tuesday at 10, like whatever what we just discussed earlier is totally fine for me.
Yeah, I mean,
It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It doesn't matter to me. And there just needs to be a standard, I think.
yeah, it's a blank slate, so
Does anyone else have any comment? I mean, Tuesday at 9 would be
Is it
fine
only
with me.
once a
10
week?
is better.
Once a week.
10 is better.
If
You-
for maintenance,
you-
obviously it will run during power outage.
Power.
You-
Yeah.
Do you expect to
Yeah.
have that change at all, that would run more frequently for any reason other than?
No,
going off?
it's just to keep the engine warm and so when we need it to actually
Make
run.
sure
it
it works.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter when it runs as long as it's once a week.
Yeah, I totally get that, and the generators need to run once a week, get that. But we're working with the town building here. We should set a standard for the entire town, or at least like set the stage for future changes, because it is kind of every house you go down the street on, you see like a generator popping up here, going down Ocean Street. There's 100 of them, and they all start at different times. So I mean, why not start something here?
How about like a window 10 to 2 on a Tuesday?
Beautiful.
Well, 10 to 2 during the week. I would say.
Don't even care. Yeah, that's totally fine. But I mean, there's multiple that start Saturday and Sunday around me. So why not do it here? Ten to 2 on a weekday. Does that work?
Yep. It's fine to me.
Perfect.
And this will be pumping, like, regarding the water. I mean, I have concerns at the end of our street. The town does go down. I see a couple times a week to check at our cul-de-sac. I'm not sure if it's owned by the town, the Rod and Gun Club, but the water is supposed to be flowing out that way. I mean, is there any updates on that?
Are you referring to stormwater like in the street?
No, I'm
Or sewer?
at the very end, so of Johnson Terrace, so back here in one of the plans, it shows where everything goes behind that building, where water will flow.
Which one is, so Johnson Terrace is the one on the left there?
Yeah, that's Johnson Terrace, yeah.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure I understand the question.
So I see they've been going, a couple times a week on my street at the end. It's kind of overgrown at the very end, but it does overflow. Is there any, will this impact that?
The
Will it-
sewage overflows?
It's the, the river, like the. It's
That's
supposed to
it. I
go
think-
to-
I
it's
think
supposed to go
that's
to
a
the dike.
concern more for the Board of Public Works.
Okay,
Yes, I think that's unrelated to this project. So just to be clear, so this pump station collects sewer water. like
Yeah.
Your house. From upstream, higher elevation locations and pumps it to the wastewater treatment plant. It doesn't directly deal with stormwater except for, the unfortunate infiltration.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Anything else from the board? Seeing that there's none, gonna move that we close 2383 Town of Marshfield, Department of Public Works, 373 Plymouth Ave. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Cohen, aye.
Jean Lee, aye.
Grover Hensey, aye.
I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for site plan approval, subject to the conditions. Generator test between 10 and 2 weekdays. This project may require compliance with the floodplain bylaw. A building permit, a certified as-built conforming to the requirements of 1202. And a certificate of occupancy. And the board finds all 10 general conditions associated with site plan approval to be fulfilled. Based on the finding that the applicant's proposal meets the site plan approval criteria. Section 1202 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Cohen, aye.
Jean Lee, aye.
Grover Hensey, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Now we have Jonathan R. Bagnell and Carolyn Correa. You. You can leave it.
Steve?
Never mind.
All right, so we have, the petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 and 305-902C of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing home and construct a new 26-foot by 51-foot dwelling with a 14-foot by 14-foot three-season porch on the rear of the property located at 30 West Street, which is further identified on the assessor's map as being on parcel M05-1107 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Matt Mitchell from Orenberger, DeLisi and Harris on behalf of the applicants. I'm pinch hitting for Jeff DeLisi tonight, who has a conflict. With me, I think, is Jonathan Bagnall, one of the applicants. I think he's joining us either on the phone or via Zoom. We have a plan from Stenbeck and Taylor dated September 1st of this year. This is a raise and reconstruct at 30 West Street. The current lot area is non-conforming. The side setback to the north is non-conforming and the rear setback is non-conforming. The new structure will make that rear setback conforming. It'll take it over 30 feet. The setback to the north will be increased minimally, but increased from 7.5 to 7.7. It meets front and side setback on the south. It continues with the existing garage and the new building. It still meets the maximum building coverage. It's 35% with the new structure. So that's under the 40% threshold.
So you're eliminating one nonconformity and you're going up.
Yeah, we're limiting on nonconformity. I think Jeff provided the board with some architectural renderings from David Tonis, and it looks to me, and I've just seen these today, that the height's 34.6, so it's underneath the 35 foot limitation. So yes,
Old school architectural drawings.
yes,
It's like he freehanded those.
yes, they are for sure. So that's pretty much the project. I don't know if the board has any questions.
Any questions from the board?
No, I'm good.
I have none.
Andrew, you have anything to add?
Nope.
Anything from the audience on this? Seeing that there's none, I'm going to move to close 2380 Jonathan R. Bagnell and Caroline Pariah, 30 West Street. And do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Jean Lee, I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Grover Hensley, aye.
I move that the board vote to grant the petitioners request for a special permit subject to the conditions. This project may require compliance with the floodplain zone bylaw, a building permit, a certified as-built conforming with the requirements of 305-1012 and 305-902, and a certificate of occupancy. The board finds all 10 general conditions associated with this special permit to be fulfilled. Based on a finding that the applicant's proposal to raise the existing home and construct a new 26-foot by 51-foot dwelling and 14-foot by 14-foot 14-foot three-season porch in the rear of the property located at 30 West Street, which is further identified on a certified plot plan. Location plan dated 8/22/23, last revised 9/1/23 by Stenbeck and Taylor Incorporated, Richard Savant, PLS, meets the special criteria of section 1012 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Ryan Murphy, aye.
Jean Lee, I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thanks very much. Would you like us to draft the decision?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. We'll get it. Thanks very much.
Now we have 2382. Lynn Ann Murphy. In accordance with 305-1009 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, the petitioner is seeking an appeal from the building commissioner determination that neither the segment of Brewster Road nor Chilton Street required for the frontage for the issuance of a building permit meet the definition of street according to Marshfield zoning bylaw on the property located at 47 Brewster Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps being parcel J 1-20210 is located in the R1 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
James F. Creed Jr. of Creed Law LLC, representing Lynn Ann Murphy, who's also with me.
So on this, since it's an appeal, Andrew, are you going to lead first?
No, this is
All right.
their, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you an overview of what the appeal is about, and then Ms. Murphy has some comments that she'd like to make as well. What the petitioner requested from the building commissioner was direction as to the issue of frontage for the residential lot of record located at J 120210, now numbered as 47 Brewster Road, based on a contract to construct Chilton Road to the planning board standard. Previously, we had obtained a street improvement plan, which has expired. The intent here is to build Chilton Street to the planning board standard, but not to build Brewster Road, which the planning board required. As you know, as a residential lot of record, requires 50 feet of frontage. We have 50 feet of frontage. I've submitted the residential lot of record determination by town council. However, that Chilton Street is a paper street as it currently sits. It doesn't exist. Our proposal is to build it, and with that 50 feet by 20 feet, built to the planning board standard, something I'm not sure we really have to do, but we intend to do to placate the planning board's requirement. We would meet the definition of frontage and the definition of a street under the zoning bylaw and under the subdivision definitions as applied by the Marshfield Planning Board. Chilton Street is located at the end of Brewster Road. It's off of Peregrine White, which is also off of South River Street. For those of you who aren't aware, you're coming up South River Street and you head up the hill to take a left to head toward the Bridgeway. This is the road that juts off just before that hill starts. That's Peregrine White, almost all the way to the end, and you get to Brewster, which is a dirt road. Brewster Road is also recently before the ZBA or the dissolution of Georgia Street by, I believe it was Mike Baressa is the trustee of the Peregrine White Farm Realty Trust or something like that. That house is being built and is on its foundation. This lot would be the last lot on this road. The zoning bylaw definition of lot frontage, bear with me for a second, talks about the total distance along a street line from one front lot corner to the other. A, singular, a street line. Lot line front is defined as the property line between a lot and a street, or the line defining the limit of a right-of-way set aside for road purposes. Again, a, singular. Street is defined in the zoning bylaw as a way over 24 feet in right-of-way width. Again, singular, a way. Street line, the line between a street and an adjoining piece of property defines the limits of the street. Again, singular. A residential lot of record, which this is, which is grandfathered under the Zoning Act and protected and a buildable lot by law, is defined as any lot lawfully laid out by deed duly recorded, may be built upon for residential use provided it has a minimum area of 5,000 square feet with frontage of at least 50 feet and is otherwise in accordance with Section 6 of the Zoning Enabling Act. We previously have obtained from the Marshfield Fire Department in 2019, September 23rd of 2019, requesting vital access, a letter, and I'll read one sentence into the record. It was the deputy's opinion, with which I concur, that at that time, our equipment could access that location. However, if weather and/or roadway conditions were different, we could not be sure that our equipment could access that location without potential for delay during an emergency response. Then there's the typical language that dovetails to the planning board that is now required in the town of Marshfield. As a result of that, we requested 20 years of responses from the fire department for Brewster Road. At no time was Brewster Road ever not available for an emergency vehicle response. That's the definition of vital access. The planning board provisions for street determination and a street improvement plan, which are set forth in the subdivision rules and regs at section 405-7 at sub B, authority, states in pertinent part, a building permit may not be issued by the building commissioner for new construction unless the lot on which the building is to be constructed has frontage on a street, singular. as defined in the Marshfield zoning bylaws. So the street determination policy as adopted under the subdivision rules and regulations dovetails back to the zoning bylaw and talks about a singular street. The planning board in its comments, bear with me for a second because I know I have them here someplace. In what they highlighted under, and I don't know why they do this, they go to the old, I had to pull out my booklet from when I was a planning board member to find this reference to section 3.3.6 and 4.13. But under 4.13, location of streets, G states, where the street system within the proposed subdivision does not interact with or have adequate access, in the opinion of the planning board, from an existing public way or approved subdivision way, the board may require, as a condition of approval, that such adequate access be provided by the applicant through physical improvement from the proposed subdivision ways to the nearest public way, et cetera, et cetera. So in essence, what the planning board's required, even though it isn't a requirement, they could have waived it, but they refused to waive it, was require this lot, which is the last lot on this dead-end street, to build 485 additional feet of roadway with drainage in order to build one house, one two-bedroom house at the end of the roadway. In order to put in Chilton Street itself, the quote we have and the contract we have with Sealand Corporation is for, with including the final payment, would be about $31,000. The two recent quotes from a developer that I represent for a roadway of 300 feet were $190,000 and $220,000. Using the lesser quote of $190,000, that comes out to $600,000. That's with drainage, and the drainage in those roads was similar to the drainage that's going to be required by the planning board for this particular road, was $633.33 a foot. If you extrapolate out the 485 additional feet that we would have to build, it comes out to $307,000. Currently, the lot is under agreement for sale at $270,000. So Ms. Murphy would have to expend funds to sell a lot at a loss if the planning board's determination that Brewster Street has to be built in order for this lot to have frontage, and she'd have to take a net loss. In essence, it would be destroy the economic viability of the lot and deny her any viable economic use of that lot. That's the issue that we bring before you, and before we spend additional funds. Oh, well, I should tell you this as well. We have $80,000 in engineering into the project now. Not a dime of that is legal fees. That's all engineering to comply with the drainage requirements, the orders of conditions, the planning board's requirements, et cetera. An additional $31,000 would have to be spent to build Chilton Street to get the frontage. Before we endeavor to spend that money, we'd like to know that at the end of the day, we have frontage from that street, as opposed to having to spend $307,000 to take a net loss on the project. Now I'll turn it over to Ms. Murphy.
Hi, so I thank you for listening to me tonight. I've been a lifelong resident of Marshfield, 60 years, and my reputation has been of a good character. Anything I touch, I've improved in this town. And there are probably some people in this room that would agree with that. I lived on Brewster Road. There's one person in this room beside myself that's been there as long as I have owned a piece of property. When I left Brewster Road, it wasn't by choice. My ex-husband at the time was my husband. I had young children. He foreclosed on a property I had put a lot of money into, including into that lot. And my house was foreclosed on with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And I had 2 days' notice. I left that property in complete despair. I stayed with my husband for quite some time, and my plan was to always go back there. As a single mother, putting children through college without child support or any type of support was very difficult. I was a Catholic school teacher for 24 years, and I always worked a side business. The reason I've had to sell this property and why I'm selling this property is because somebody from New York bought the house next door. And he bought it from a friend of mine 8 or 9 years ago. Lisa Giovannucci, I'm not even sure of her name. She's a realtor in town. She called me when she had a buyer, a potential buyer for that house. And I said to her, Lisa, please tell him he does have a house going next door to him. I have a legal lot of record. Please make sure he knows this. That person has cost me quite a bit of money. I have never even met him physically. I have felt bullied to a point where I don't feel I can live there any longer. I have had to enlist friends to help me financially there to maintain it and do some of this engineering work. Now there are 7 homes there with all new owners, except for the one other owner that's in this room that's lived there longer than I even have owned a piece of property. I know that my neighbors do not want me to put a road that takes away the front of their houses, that moves telephone poles 10 feet off their houses. I think it's extremely unfair that I've been put in a position where the cost to build on my buildable lot of record is actually so outrageous that it makes the lot really useless. I no longer have that dream. I can't go there. I know I can't go there. I'm asking for a small 2-bedroom house. I've proven in the past that anything I've touched, whether it be the Green Harbor General Store, 871 Webster Street, through family and other businesses, that I respect my neighbors. I help my neighbors. I have never been treated this way in my life by a neighbor I have never met. That's a newcomer in the last 8 or 9 years. I have been bullied, and I have not had the financial wherewithal to fight that all the way until friends had to step in. That place is a very special place. The wildlife, the road itself is a special place. It forces people to slow down when they get to that corner. A paved road is going to cause much faster traffic. Neighbors that have young children having to worry that their children are out in that yard when a car comes around that corner and hits another paved road to take off to go to the end of that street. Potential danger. That road has actually been a safety as far as I was concerned when I had my young children there. In fact, my children, I had to call the ambulance a couple times for my children. It was never a problem. I am just asking this board to look at what is fair. I know what my legal rights are there, but I need some help on this. I really am imploring you for some help. It's been 35 years that I have owned this property. With many newcomers coming in, no one being required to pave anything or improve anything other than what was good for them. I'm just asking you if you will reconsider. For the sake of my neighbors. I know I feel bullied. I'm sure some of them feel bullied. And they're afraid to speak. But I know one thing. They do not want a 20-foot road cutting off the front of their houses and having telephone poles that close to their house. That I'm pretty sure of. So I humbly ask you to reconsider this.
Well, with all due respect, we're just considering it for the first time. This is the first time it's been in front of this board.
Right. Right, I know that.
The other board.
You're my last hope. I understand that. You are my last hope.
Okay, so Andrew,
Yeah, so I got the request for determination as to whether or not I could issue a building permit. If they made this proposed improvement. Unfortunately, I cannot, along with the definition of a street. There's 3 other things that are included. One of them has to be, true. So it has to be either a public way laid out by a governmental entity or public authority, and is shown on an official map adopted by the town. The town does not have an official town map that lays out streets, so that really is not an option for any street determination in town. The second is it's shown on a plan approved and endorsed in accordance with the subdivision rules and regs, which we don't have right now. And the third is that in the opinion of the planning board, it has the sufficient width, suitable grades, and adequate construction to provide for the needs of vehicular traffic, which the planning board has told me it does not. Therefore, I can't issue a building permit according to the street determination bylaw in the planning board subdivision rules and regs. And that's why I denied it. So
Andrew, they're talking about Brewster Road and the frontage is on Chilton.
That's correct.
So they're gonna build Chilton, they're gonna build 50 feet of frontage on Chilton, and that's adequate according to the planning board. So what am I missing?
No, it's not adequate they don't have an approved plan from the planning board to do that.
I thought it was approved back in
Could you pull up the aerial on this again?
Chilton.
The proposal that the planning board
2019.
approved was for them to improve all of Brewster Road and then do the down here, the Chilton Road improvement.
So the lot is right there.
What the planning board approved was improving all of Brewster and the 50-foot frontage on Chilton. Now they just want to do the 50-foot frontage on Chilton, which the planning board said is not what they approved and not what they, and I can't issue a building permit unless it meets what they had approved.
Andrew, I don't know what the bee in the bonnet is of the planning board, but this is the same dance that we did with the luckless folks at 13 Brewster. They had to go out and hire a lawyer because the planning board said that their frontage wasn't adequate when there were 3 houses on the property. I don't understand. There are 6 other houses on Brewster. I don't see the harm. If they're putting in Chilton, it's adequate frontage. It's the means of ingress and egress are sufficient for 6 other homes. Why are we dragging poor Ms. Murphy through the mud? I just don't get it. Unless the planning board has some fascination with Brewster Road that eludes me. Anyone?
Andrew, where that car is parked right there by the lot? What is that an extension of? Is that somebody's private driveway? What is that?
The driveway, yeah.
That's a private driveway. That's not an
I'm
extension.
sorry,
That's somebody paved that at some point for a driveway, yeah.
legally.
That pavement is in the right of way
So that is.
of
the
Brewster
actual
Road,
Brewster Road.
but it was done by, I believe, the folks who own that house, which is the house that Ms. Murphy previously owned. The Jacobsons extended and put that pavement in. If Andrew could call up, I gave a sketch in today and I tried to, there you go.
Yep.
So
We have that.
this is the area that will end up paved. The 50-foot plus there'll be a turnaround for emergency vehicles by using the pavement that the Jacobsons put in, expanding it slightly, putting a curve to that. There'll also be drainage to take care of. The area that you see where Chilton Street meets the paved driveway of the abutter, Mr. Oaks, that's an area where
Which is not their property. That's in the public way, correct?
That's correct.
It's just paved, so that's
Yeah.
not their property.
It's not their
Not
property. It's
Okay.
just.
So the way I look at it is that should be, that, if that's 50 feet, that would be the frontage in itself, and Chilton Street isn't even a necessary item. Okay, now, another thing, Andy, can you pull up that aerial view again, please? Now, this is one of the questions I have. You wanna, coming down Brewster Ave, you wanna take a dirt road, then make sections of it paved and leave the rest of it dirt? Is that what's being proposed?
Well, what we're proposing is just that the last
No,
sketch.
no, but with the road improvement that they wanna see
Oh, no, they want the entire road paved.
all the way
The
up to
planning board wants it paved all the way back to the top of Brewster where it meets Peregrine.
where it meets more dirt.
No,
He's talking about
there's actually
Peregrine's
pavement there.
The pave, when I drove down there, it's substantially dirt.
Yes,
This is,
You're
this is
correct.
what was, this is the actual plan from the planning board that was approved. So it would start
Okay.
at the end of
The corner right there.
Peregrine
So-
White, come all the way down
Yeah.
and do the little bit.
So the requirement would be for this applicant to improve the roadway in front of all of those other houses.
Mhm.
So
correct.
the emergency access, I drive a 2,500 truck and I drove to that property, no issue. And the police department, the fire department, the UPS man, they already have to service those homes that are there. So I see no issue with emergency access or ambulances, fire, police. We have done numerous of these. The one, as Brian was pointing out, just a few doors down was there, and that applicant didn't have to do any of this.
Right.
Right.
If you're familiar with,
Nor should they have had to, in my opinion.
I agree. And that's why I'm saying, to me, Brewster Ave, if it's 50 feet, would be the frontage. I weigh heavily on the residential lot of record that has already been a determination. That ruling is there for a reason, to protect what I see, exactly what you have here,
Thank you.
in my view.
Anyone else on the board? JJ, do you have anything?
No, I'm the emergency vehicle thing. I mean, they're gonna figure out a way to get there. I don't think that really plays into it. And did we not just pass a house down on Brewster Road in a similar situation?
Yes,
This is a different situation. This is an undeveloped lot. That was a situation where I had determined that the structures had been abandoned. And that was a different determination altogether.
I got you. I remember that now. Thank you. No, I have nothing else. I mean,
Dave, do you have anything?
No, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with
Gene? Any question? I was asking Gene if you had any.
I'm in agreement too.
in Grove.
Well, if the board feels it has enough information, well, I'm gonna ask the audience in a minute, but I'm just saying.
Brian, I did the planning board want their comments read into the record?
Yeah, Bob said they're part of the record since they've
Okay.
already been installed. I can just say that they're part of the record. Do we have anything from the audience? Name and address for your record.
I'm Hanford, 16 Brewster Road. My husband and I have lived on that road for 45 years. We've had down with Angela's house. The garage burned. The fire trucks got down there just fine. There was no problem. The ambulances come down, no problem. We really, everybody on the street that I've talked to does not want that road paved because it would the ramifications on our front yards is immense. And since we've been there for 20 plus more years, we'd like it to be left the way it is. The garbage trucks can get down, the fire trucks have gotten down, the ambulances come down. UPS, they all come down. And we would like it to stay the way it is. There are also 4 telephone poles that would have to be shifted if anything was done to that road. So we would like to stay exactly as it is.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just bring that back up to the podium.
We have a comment down?
He's going first and then.
Okay.
Jane, you gotta grab the microphone.
My name's Gene Guimond. I'm with Baker Braverman and Barbadoro. We represent Mark Ox of 39 Brewster Road. He's a direct abutter to the property. He also owns 1/2 interest, the fee interest in Chilton Street that is being used as the access to this lot. I think at first, the board should be considering that this is a speculative request and the fact that the pavement isn't on the ground yet. So there's no pavement on Chilton Street. There's no pavement on Brewster Road. So it's kind of the cart before the horse when it comes to the filing. The planning board has made a determination which Attorney Creed says is expired. So technically the ability to pave Chilton Street is also expired. I think maybe the route that the appellant should be taking is going back to the planning board and getting another decision by the planning board. And if they don't like that decision by the planning board, they can appeal that. They did not appeal the decision issued by the planning board in 2020. Someone else was in front of the planning board in 2017. The appellant went in front of the planning board in 2020 and was denied, and then changed plans and submitted the application that was approved. There's also a Conservation Commission order of conditions that has special conditions in it that require the road and infrastructure work on both Brewster Road and Chilton Road to be completed before a house is built. In October of 2013, the same applicant, I believe represented by probably the same counsel, submitted a request to the then building inspector, Jerry McGuire, for basically the same opinion, that they had adequate frontage. That decision that was not included in the package that you received gave the same decision that the current building inspector did, that it needed planning board improvements to the road in order for a building permit to issue. The next thing is in the application, there was definition of the frontage that's being asserted by the appellant. And if you look at the plans, I'm not so sure these plans show the frontage that is being asserted. If you take the corner in the street line, Chilton Street, you don't have 50 feet of pavement on that plan that is shown because they don't show where the lot line is. What they do on that plan is they basically show to almost the center line of Brewster Road going out, and they're missing probably about 10 feet of frontage. So the corner of the lot line is actually further south than where they're showing. Because remember, they're taking away 20 feet of Children Road that my client has the ability to pave and improve. So if you take away that 20 feet, it drops you to a lot line. If you run that out 50 feet, you're basically in the middle of Brewster Road. So I do not believe they meet that definition. I'm not so sure that the lot lines are contiguous to the upland. And the ingress and egress to this lot actually isn't through its frontage. It's through the half of Chilton Street that Mr. Ox owns. So I'm not so sure you get there. The rights to use Chilton Street are reciprocal. So Mr. Ox also has the ability to use Chilton Street. Half of it's being taken up by drainage that is being proposed in a rain garden. Mr. Ox went along with the planning board filings and also the Conservation Commission filings because he wanted the adequate drainage to be built in because his well is located right on the side of Chilton Street on that southern boundary. So if this is not constructed the right way and have the right drainage, the well is going to have water sitting on top of it and puddling on top of it. And there's a likelihood that it's going to contaminate as well water. Lastly, that last lot that was discussed, you've already heard that had existing structures on it. That makes it different from this lot. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? Please go up to the podium.
Kim Baressa, 188 Peregrine White Drive. So I live right where you would start to pave, and I've been there 24 years now. Like almost as long as Bonnie. But I think part of the charm of where we live in that road, it is the dirt road. And we love having our dirt road and, the kids growing up and playing there. And it definitely changed when we had to pave Peregrine White Drive to build the new homes. It changed the whole atmosphere of that street. And every time we add more houses and more water keeps coming, it definitely changes what happens to our street. So I'm worried about when you do pave the houses that are there. I know they have engineered plans and stuff, but the last house that they just built up on the hill definitely caused additional problems on the pavement area. So most of us, I think all of us are hoping to see it stay dirt, because every time you add the pavement, the water ends up in our yards and not where it's supposed to go.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Karen Dean, and I live at 168 Peregrine White Drive. And my family owns the majority of frontage on both sides of Brewster Road. My property is the one with the swimming pool. And just in walking around the property and seeing the changes that would be made if they had to pave to 20 feet. Right now, like, we used to have my son's trampoline in the front yard, and we actually moved it over to the Brewster Road yard because the traffic goes so quickly on the paved area. And so that's really the only place that I allow my kids to go out. We moved his basketball hoop over there. And if that road has to get paved, literally my son's trampoline, his basketball hoop, there's like an ancient stone wall that abuts the entire property, as well as we talked about the telephone poles, and all of that is going to be removed. And I thought it was my property, and I'm saying, wait, how can they build a road, pretty much my entire side yard? It's going to be cut off significantly. Not to mention Tracy's Quackenbush, she has a stone wall in half of Mrs. Benford's driveway. She can fit 2 cars in her driveway, bumper to bumper. But if this road has to get paved, Mrs. Benford isn't even going to have a place to park 2 of her cars. And we can park 4 cars in our driveway, and that's going to cut our driveway to only being able to park 2 cars. And it's going to change that entire road is going to be changed if it has to get paved. So I know we spoke with everyone in the neighborhood, and no one wants that road to be paved, and to have it paved to 20 feet is just for the couple of houses that are there. It just seems, it's very extreme, and it's really going to change things for my yard, especially, and for my kids who play on that side of the yard.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Creed. I'm one of the ones that helped, land it out for the last 8 to 10 years on this property. Didn't really think much about it, 10 years ago, but I'm the one that's been paying for the engineering and all of the work. I've talked to Mr. Ox several times on what do you want? And we have spent tens of thousands of dollars to accommodate a guy that lives there part-time, had his house rented out. It's not even a Mass resident, to ask him what he wants. I agree with a comment that was made here that shouldn't the 50 feet come off Brewster? We tried that. We wanted to do that. It was already there to have it come off because the woman already paved half of it. I said, I'll pave the rest of it and let's make it all work. The drainage that I'm doing for this guy is unbelievable that we've agreed to. And I don't even mean just on Brewster. Why should one person have to pave and spend $300,000 for a lot that's worth about 2.25? It's the extra money that they're getting to pay for all of the extra stuff that has to be done. And I just think it's really unfair to what they have pulled on her. And the neighbors on the right side of the street coming down, I went down there with Sealing Corporation. None of the frontage comes off the road to the left as you head down that road. So let's say the road is 10 to 12 feet wide now. The other 8 feet, plus moving all the telephone poles, comes off of these people's land. It's just so unfair that the planning board pulled this. And I think I disagree with the attorney stating that Mr. Ock owns Chilton Street. It's a paper street. It's not even there yet. I do want to pave it. Kevin Seaman was gonna pave it for me, but I'm like, Kevin, let's just wait because it's another $30-something thousand I'm throwing in here. Let's just find out what they're gonna do. Because it should only be fair. I will pave it. If you guys want the frontage on Chilton, I'll spend the money and I'll pave it for Lynn Ann. So she can get out from this thing, sell it, take her money, pay me back, and let's just call it a day. But I think it's very unfair what the planning board pulled. This has been years. For one person to pay several $100,000, it's not right. It makes her lot unusable. It makes it unsellable. It makes it unbuildable. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Will Kaminsky, a resident 178 Peregrine White Drive. Me and my wife, we own 114 feet on Brewster Road. We would like to join our neighbors in general opposition to the planning board's proposed scheme for the applicant. Specifically, we have three issues. The first of those is just the general water discharge by paving that by additional 20 feet. Where is the rainwater going to go? I know that can be engineered through, but that's additional cost that you are imposing upon this applicant here. Secondly, and we've heard no discussion of this so far this evening, but we're all on wells. And some of the impervious surfaces that would be on the planning board's proposal could adversely affect the drinking water wells that several of the neighbors have. The third issue that we have is general vehicle safety. Like people have said before, there is something about somebody slowing down to negotiate the dirt road in a neighborhood which is residential, and we have in general. And then finally, I have a background as an environmental scientist, and I do question the logic of requiring this applicant to put in an impervious surface in an area that is primarily going to be used by one or two houses, depending upon how that's going to be adjudicated, and in its proximity to a large wetland system. So I would just simply add that, and I would think that there might be better ways of engineering that.
Right.
Hey, everyone, Nanette Paziali, 72 Island Street. I'm the owner and realtor for Colonial Realty Group in Marshfield. And I just want to say I've been working on this project for 3.5 years, and I've been harassed by Mr. Ock, or whatever his name is. He's harassed me. He's harassed my buyers. Every time I show the property, he's come out and start hollering at people. I'm standing here with buyers not knowing what to say or do. It's so embarrassing. He's, hindered the sale of this property amongst all this other stuff. So we took it off the market, figured we could give it a rest. We missed the height of the market. And we relisted it again, and he comes out again. It's just a never ending battle with this man. So I don't want to, crush anybody's character, but this whole thing has been a battle. And I really pray to God that it's time that it ends and let this woman move on with her life. We've all gone above and beyond with him. We've offered him the land first. It's just been a constant, I don't even know what the word is, but I've had to stand here and eat crow with buyers telling them it's a buildable lot, and they're yelling at us saying, no, it isn't. You'll never build here. We're going to stop you. And I just wanted to get that out there so we see what kind of a person that we're dealing with, who's taken something that should be less complicated and making it a true nightmare for a lot of people. And never mind the financial aspect of everybody's time and the embarrassment. But I just wanted to speak on behalf of Lynn Ann, and she's been very patient, and it's just been really tough, so I wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Andrew, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, just that, again, I just reinforce that. I feel I cannot issue a building permit for this until it meets the definition of a street.
Okay, and did you want, I mean, you can read in that thing from the planning board if you want, but Bob said it's part of the record because it's filed.
That's up to you. I don't have any desire to do anything.
All right, that's fine. Do we have anything else from anyone?
If I may, just on a couple of points of disinformation from Attorney Guimond. He called the request speculative. I think I made it really clear at the beginning that we want direction from this board that if we build Chilton Street, will we have frontage? So we made it real clear that Chilton Street isn't on the ground yet. We just want, you can condition it any way you want as far as your determination, if it's going to be positive for us, that if Chilton Street is built and it's built to the planning board standard, which the plans that we've shown you in the sketches are all drawn by Terry McGovern, who was formerly at Stenbeck and Taylor. He stayed on to do this project. And all of the plans that we've shown are from the original street improvement plan. Attorney Guimond also represented that because the street improvement plan expired, that we now have no right to, or he alluded that we may not have a right to build Chilton Street. Under Chapter 183, Section 58, which is the derelict fee statute, and 187.5, which is a statute that allows us to improve private ways by installing utilities. We have the right to make improvements, including paving, especially paving a paper street, to make it passable. And the rights that exist under the derelict fee statute are that you own to the center line if you're a sideline abutter, but it's subject to the right of others to pass and repass over that right of way. So Mr. Oakes doesn't own the left-hand side or the northern side of Chilton Street. He would only own that and only become part of his fee if Chilton Street was dissolved like Georgia Street was. With regard to, and normally I wouldn't bring this up, but Mr. Oakes made an offer to purchase the property at $150,000. We counted him at $180,000. He didn't respond. So I suspect that his attorney is here tonight more because he's upset that his offer wasn't accepted, as opposed to he has these concerns.
He wouldn't be the first.
Could have made $90,000.
So, JJ, you're all set?
Yep, also thank you.
I was gonna suggest a site visit, but I think the board has.
I've already been out
Yeah,
there.
I've been out there.
I'm good to pull the trigger. I've heard nothing that has swayed me from my opinion. I think the applicant is going above and beyond paving Chilton Street. I'd recognize Brewster as being their frontage if they had the 50 feet there. A residential lot of record to me is pretty straightforward, 5,000 square feet. It meets it. It was zoned, rezoning. I mean, it was established rezoning. It conforms to the existing zoning at that time. So basically, in layman's term, you're turning back the clock. If you could have built it back in 1920, you can build it today. So I think she's waited long enough. I'm very willing to pull the trigger tonight.
Okay. Steve, you all set?
I am, yeah.
What, Jane, you're comfortable?
I'm also, yeah.
All right. So is there anything else from anyone else? So I'm gonna move that the board close 2382 Lynn Ann Murphy. 47 Brewster Road. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Jean Lee, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Grover yeah.
And I am going to move in the positive to grant the appeal. So I move that the board vote to grant the appeal by the appellant and overturn the decision of the building commissioner dated 11 September 2023. You want to give any examples, Brian, or?
Because based on the information submitted, the lot has adequate frontage on a way to be built.
And I'm gonna do this with I'm gonna call out a vote, so Larry? Aye. Brian?
Sullivan, I.
JJ?
Aye.
Wait, Gene, sorry.
Aye.
Steve? That's 5 votes, so
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll still get sued with the rest. Is that it, Nancy? Oh, you have those, Larry, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Already signed, yeah.
all right.
Move
So,
to adjourn?
no approval. What?
Right now, the meeting is done.
Yep.
Thank you.
I know it's difficult, school vacation, any vacations. Do you want me to take that off the calendar?
Yes, I don't want it. That's the big week after get rid of it.
Make a motion. You gonna make a
Motion to remove
Second.
December 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Harry Keene, aye.
Yeah.
Everyone's an aye. JJ, you and I on that? Get rid of the time, assuming you don't need that day off.
Move to
Aye,
adjourn.
aye.
Move. Oh, we gotta do Larry's minutes. So approval of minutes, second,
All in favor?
Keene, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Jean Lee.
Steve Feedy, aye.
Grover Henslee, aye.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Harry Keene, aye.
Brian Sullivan, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Jean Lee.
Steve Feedy, aye.
Grover Henslee, aye. See you guys.
See ya.